Hello, everyone. Good afternoon to you. A thousand apologies for the late start. We were having network issues. Hopefully, we've sorted them out now. We are just praying that it holds through so that we can do this. Let me just take a minute to share from my page as we wait for some people to join us. I'm sharing so that everybody can see and hear. And so you can also share from your page. You can share to your friends and family. You can tag people, and then we will start right away.
Hello.
If you haven't met me before, my name is Dr. Sarah Modwi, and I am the CEO of Baby Child and Co. My guest has dropped off again. Um, this is a hectic afternoon because it's because of the network that we were not able to start on time, and I see that she has dropped off again. So I am the only one on the stream now, but I'm still sharing because I'm hoping that she'll join me anytime soon, and then we can start. Um, so this afternoon we want to talk about rashes among children, and we've got a pediatric dermatologist to talk us through. It's so unfortunate that we are having these issues. I hope we won't have to call it off because of the network issues. But meanwhile, if you have joined us, if you have any questions, you can put them in the comments right away. While she still tries to join us, and then we can kickstart this. She's joining us from Kumasi, and I can see she's really having network issues this afternoon. And she's still trying to join. As soon as I see her, I'm going to add her. I've seen her now, so I'm going to add her. So, like I said, she's a pediatric dermatologist. Her name is Dr. Ikuya Senya, and she's coming to talk to us about rashes. I encourage you to, if you have any questions and comments, you can start putting them in. Echa says that she's here and she wants to know how we treat children with skin allergies. Echa, the problem I'm having this afternoon is that our guest keeps dropping on and off. It's really bad. Um, I'm just sending her a message right now. And I still can't see her. So hopefully she's trying some things on her side to be able to join us. So let me take the chance to talk about the things that we do at Baby Child and Co. So Baby Child and Co. We have a blog called babychilandco.com. It's all one word, and there we do a lot of stuff, especially articles. We blog on issues that are related to the health of children, and so you should visit babychilandco.com. And when you are there, there's something else you can do. We have a parenting club. A parenting club is our subscription if you have a child less than 2 years old. So what we do there is that if you subscribe, every week we give you guidance for your child, how to take care of your child. And what we tell you depends on how old your child is. And so you should subscribe. For instance, if you are a new mom with a 1 week old baby, we are going to talk about issues that are related to a 1 week old baby. We are going to be helping you to breastfeed, or if you choose formula, but we actively promote breastfeeding because pediatricians, we love breast milk. Pediatricians all over the world love breast milk. So if you're a new mother, we are going to be talking to you about how to breastfeed. And then if you are, and then we are talking to you about things like newborn jaundice, has your baby passed meconium, those sort of things. And the second week, we are helping you to settle into the routine, checking that you don't have postpartum depression, those sort of things. By the time your baby is 4 months old, we are checking is the next strong. If not, these are the things you should do, and that sort of thing. So that is what we do on the parenting club. And you should subscribe because um, people who have joined the parenting club have given us very great feedback, and we really love it. So I see Ernest Fosu has also joined us. The problem we have is that my guest seems to be having network issues. She's joining from Kumasi, and she's communicating with me. She's still trying very, very hard to join us. And I hope that problem will be solved soon, and then she can join us, because I really wanted somebody who is very experienced in the topic to talk to us. I didn't want to do my general pediatrics thing, and so we are still waiting for her. All right. So I have taken note of your question, Echa. I'm just waiting for the guests to come, and then we can start that. So the other thing we do is that we have a YouTube channel, and we talk about children, the same thing, babies and children. So my guest says a minute. She's coming. We should give her a minute, so she'll soon be here with us. So we talk about babies and children, still on the YouTube channel. So if you haven't been to our YouTube channel, you haven't subscribed, you should subscribe. The same name, Baby Child and Co. In fact, we are struggling to reach 1,000 subscribers. So please subscribe so that we can get to 1,000. Because all these things we are doing, especially the blog, the Parenting Club, is free. You don't pay anything for it. But if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, then maybe one day YouTube will pay us some money that can help us to take care of the other things that we do. Ernest is asking how often I do this. So I do the live once a month, depending on the guest that I'm bringing in. So that's the answer. I do it once a month. Yeah, barring all these technical issues that we are experiencing. But my guest has assured me that she is coming. Okay. Echa, maybe for now, let me show this comment. Echa says that she's talking about allergies. She's saying it's a very sensitive topic for her because she suffered skin issues from childhood until college. She went to prayer camps and so many places until one random Chinese medicine rescued her until today. It would have been very, very, very good to find out what is in that Chinese medicine so that we can talk about it, because when we say medicines, there are many, many kinds of medicines, and what they do for you depends on what they contain. And if we don't know what is in it, then we cannot say anything about it. We can't say it's good, it's bad, it may harm you, it may not harm you. Okay. Dr. Senya has joined us once again. I'm praying that this time it stays. Okay. So, Equia, welcome. Just tell us whether you can hear us so that we can kick off. Can you
Yeah,
hear us?
hello, Sarah. I can hear you.
Great. We thank God that you are finally
Yes,
on.
I can hear you.
All right. So we've all been waiting for you. There are people on Facebook, people on YouTube. And so let's start with a big apology to all of you once again. Equia is ready for us to start. So, Equia, you want to tell us about rashes among children. What are rashes, and what are the common rashes that we find among children?
Yeah, hello. Yeah,
Hello, we can hear you.
hello.
We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Please confirm. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Oh, we can hear you, my dear. We can hear you. And I was asking, okay, she's dropped off again. If this continues, I think we'll just have to reschedule this show because I don't know. This is the she's tried so many times to join and she keeps having the same problem. Yes. So, or we can just turn this into an open question and answer session. If you have questions about your children, unfortunately, I wanted her to talk about skin. So if you have questions about your children, you can you can put them, and then we will talk about them. Yes. So I'm still seeing her trying to join anyway. Yeah. Um, so I've put her on back again. Let's give her another minute and see whether we are able to do this or not. Um, I've put her back
Hello.
on. It's not doing. Ekuya, we
Yeah, can
could
you
hear.
hear me?
We can hear you.
Sorry, the internet is behaving so badly today.
Okay. So can we kickstart?
Can I kickstart?
Yes. Yes, we are waiting. Oh, so that is what is happening today. Today is just not our day. Ekuya, so many people are on, all waiting for you, and we can't hear you, which is not your fault anyway. I mean, no one controls the network. So, yeah, that is what is happening. We can hear you, but it seems you can't hear us. Yes, she's dropped off again. So, do you have to be concerned about every rash on your child? Of course not. You should not be concerned about every rash that your child has, because there are some rashes that we call benign. Benign rashes means that they are not infections. And because they are not infections, you don't treat them actively. You don't go and put anything on your child's skin. You just need to wait for them to go away, or wait and see if they get worse. And in most cases, they go away. So one problem is that most of the time, as soon as parents see a rash on a child, they rush to put something on it. And usually they are putting something like a steroid cream on it, which can have side effects on the skin, or they are putting antibiotics on it, which is also equally bad. So no, you don't need to be concerned about every rash that your child has. Equia, can you hear us? We could hear you and then you dropped off. She's dropped off again. Okay. All right. So you don't have to be concerned about every rash that your child has. Um, so this is just not working, and I'm very sorry about this. I am going to end the broadcast so sadly. I'm very sad myself, because this is something that I really wanted to do. Um, but I'm going to have to just say a big sorry and see whether we can reschedule this another time, by God's grace. And yes, I'm so sad, but Ekuya has dropped off again. And because I wanted her to be the one who talks about the rashes, she being a specialist. Or you can tell me in the comment section, what do you want us to do? Do you want us to just generally talk about whatever it is that's on your mind, or we can continue with this? Because I don't really think it's going to work with Ikuya. She keeps coming on and going off. So if you can hear me, you can tell me in the comments what you want us to do, and then we can do that. So anybody, what do you want us to do? I see about 15 people on. You can tell me what you want us to do, and then we can do it. I also suggested earlier that we could do random questions and answers. So we can do that as well. And I was saying, you don't need to be concerned about every rash in your child. But most of the time, when we see a rash, then we are in a hurry to put something on it. And so steroid creams, for instance, they are contained in things like triple action or maybe 1% hydrocortisone cream, which we generally like. And then when you put on steroid creams on on your child's skin, what happens is that first it bleaches the skin, and secondly it makes the skin very thin. So wherever you are putting it becomes very thin, and it's prone to bruising, like becoming sore very quickly, and that's not very healthy. It also decreases the ability of the skin to fight infections at that site that you are putting the steroid cream. So maybe you had a rash that was not an infection. Now you will have an infection where you were putting the steroid cream because you were putting a steroid cream. That's why it's very important to know which rash you should worry about and which one you should just watch and see whether it goes away or you see whether it worsens. So don't be concerned about every rash in your child, and don't be in a hurry to put things on it. It's best you let the doctor see it and decide. Um, yeah, so that's the answer to that question. Um, so someone tells me that Equia will join soon. I don't know if the person is with Equia. Okay. So I mean, with that assurance, maybe we can still wait a bit. And I'm still saying that if you have joined us and you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, Baby Child and Co, kindly subscribe, because what we do is free. But if you join, it helps to support us to continue to do what we have been doing. So the question that I have now is, so Equia, you have joined with two devices, and because of that, we are going to be having a lot of interference from you. So we need to join with only one device. If not, we won't be able to hear anything you say. So I've added one device. Um, Maybe I should remove that one and add this one rather. So Equia, please join with only one device and not two. If not, there will be a lot of interference and we won't be able to hear you. I can already hear the interference. Okay. Ernest is saying that
Yeah,
um
Sarah, can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you very loudly, but she's gone off again. Ernest asked, he's unsure if this has been discussed already, but can I give pointers as to what to do with fever in children? So, with fever in children, it's first of all depends on the age of the child. So, if a child is 6 months or close to 6 months, what you do is different from a child from 6 months to 6 years. The 6 months to 6 years is very important because they can get what we call febrile convulsions. Febrile convulsions means that they get
Hello.
a temperature. Hi, Pia. They get a temperature and then they convulse. That is what a febrile convulsion is. So if your child is 6 months to 6 years, you can get a febrile
Hello.
convulsion. Hello, Equia. I can hear you. If you can hear us, say yes so that we can kickstart. So 6 months to 6 years is very, very important because they can get what we call febrile convulsions. And so those children, you must not let them have a temperature. As soon as they have a temperature, you should try to bring the temperature down. How do we bring the temperature down? You can sponge your child. You can give paracetamol. Sponging works only for a few minutes. And usually when the children are very hot, it's such a discomfort to pour cold water on them. So the water you use to sponge them must not be cold water. It must be warm, lukewarm water. So you do that to bring the temperature down and give them some paracetamol according to the weight, if you have it, or the age of your child. So 6 months to 6 years, be very careful because they can convulse. Now, once you do that, you need to find out why your child has a temperature, because just bringing the temperature down does not solve the problem. If your child has a temperature because of malaria and you don't treat the temperature, your child will become hot again. Or if your child has a temperature because of some illness in the tummy with dysentery and those sort of things, if you don't bring down the temperature, if you don't find the cause and treat it, the child will convulse again. Children tend to get a lot of ear infections, throat infections, and so that's one too. But when your baby is less than 6 months old and has a temperature, you don't worry so much about them convulsing, but you should worry still about what is causing the temperature and try and treat it. So the approach may be very different. Whereas in a tiny baby, you need to quickly sort out what the issue is. In the older baby and a child to 6 years, you are worried about convulsion. So you want to really bring down the temperature so fast. I hope I've made that distinction for you. Yes, so that's what you should do. In both cases, find out what is causing the temperature and treat it. But for those who are 6 months to 6 years, you must try and bring down the temperature. If not, they will convulse. And when they convulse, it becomes very scary for everybody. Even if you know that it's just a febrile convulsion, they are convulsing because they have a fever, it becomes very scary. Ekuya, if you can hear me, say yes. Ekuya, if you can hear me, say yes. Right. Okay, so thank you everybody. Belinda, Ernest, Asio, Meroja, Ernest, Echa, who has joined us, and many other people who haven't left comments, and so I am not seeing their names. Thank you so much for joining. Unfortunately, I have to, or we have to reschedule this topic. And I pray that I haven't had this bad experience before. So it's not something that is very common. And I just pray that it doesn't happen again, because then it's not very good for us. And interestingly, we've spent 21 minutes already and we haven't started. Ikuya, we can hear you. Can you hear me? If you can hear me, say yes. Just
Hear
yes. So that
me?
we know.
Okay. So, all right. Okay. So, sorry so much for today. I mean, I'm using multiple devices, but still nothing seems to work. Okay, let's just jump on. So, my task today is for us to discuss skin rashes in children. If we say skin rash in children, rash is something like a vague term which has it's a medical term that we use, but then it simply means that a widespread of eruption of skin lesions, and it can vary in different, it can come in different forms. I'll try my best not to use most of the medical jargon so that we cannot. So they can dry. The rash can be a dry rash. It can be a moist one. It can be smooth. It can be cracked or even blisters. Sayram, can you just move on with the pictures, the first one, just for us to have a look at some of the types of rash we may have.
Okay, so
I
this
don't know
is
if
the
you can see on your screen.
yes, so this is the first rush that I'm showing on the slide.
Okay, so yeah, so the first two slides are just types of rash that we can have in a child. So this is a type of rash, but if we look at the first picture, you can see that there is a color difference comparing the two of them. One is more pink, one is darker. And then the first one looks more raised than the second one. Can you move to the second slide, please? And then for the second one also, if we look at it, it's also types of rashes. For the first picture on my left upper quadrant, you can see that yes, the rash looks like small pimples in our local term, as we say, small pimples. That means it's a vesicle, but it's filled with pus. The other one on my right looks like a blister, something we call blisters. The third one you can see is a rash that has fluid leaking out and it has dried around the mouth. And then the other one on the hand is also a rash. So when we say rash, that's why I'm saying that rash is quite a vague term. Someone will refer to a rash being something that is you can feel, how you can feel it. Others may come with a rash that you can just see redness on the surface of the skin, but you can't really feel anything on the skin. I hope we are okay with that. We've spent so much time, so I'll just continue from there. So as I have said, we have so many rashes, but then broadly, if I am to classify it or to group them, then I can say there are some rashes that are infectious and others that are not infectious. So that would be the two broad umbrella terms that I'll use: infectious and then non-infectious. If we look at the second slide showing, we can see some rash on this child. I've labeled it some benign rash. I'm sure most of our mothers on the page are familiar with these ones. You give birth to a newborn, within the first week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks of life, you find this rash, and then you are so terrified. What do I do with them? So I've termed them benign. Benign means they don't cause any problem, but then it's a rash that is found in newborns. They resolve on their own. You don't really need to do much to them. The second, please move on.
So what you are saying
The
here is that
next,
you have a newborn and you see this rash on your child, your newborn, what should you do?
so this newborn rash, we don't do anything to it. It doesn't worry the kids in any way. You don't touch them in any way. They resolve on their own. It's just a matter of time. They all resolve without leaving any mark or something behind. So you don't touch them. You don't apply anything to it.
So
Is
if
that
I'm a
okay?
mother and I'm so worried and I don't believe you and I apply something to this rash, what will happen to my baby?
So, you applying something can rather cause a lot of problems. You know, the skin of a baby is so delicate. So, you applying something else, you may rather cause irritation, something we call irritation. It may then tend to be reddened, and then you can have a lot of problems from it. These are all sweat glands. So, you applying something on it again as well, you can block the pores there, and then you can rather have a difficult problem on your hands. So we advise you don't touch them, just leave it. With time, it will resolve on its own.
We thank you. All right.
Hello. Yeah. Okay. And then the next one is also another rash that we are familiar with. It can happen in newborns and then as they grow as well. Something we call heat rash. Yes. It's just because of the sweat pores on the child, because you have clothing and a lot of layers on, so you trap the heat, you trap the sweating and everything, and then you find this rash on the child. So this is also one of the benign rash in a child. You don't do much to it, you don't do anything at all you need to do is try and then put on loose clothes for the child, let the child have some aeration, get some air around the child. So in a child who has such a severe heat rash on the body, you can just put on a diaper and then the child can enjoy the fresh air we are all having. That will solve your problem. You don't need to apply anything to it. Okay,
But Doc,
let's move on.
most of our
Yeah.
mothers insist on covering the baby. So especially in the Ghanaian community, you find the baby will wear a singlet, wear one C, and then they wear the cap, the socks, mittens, and then they still wrap again. And so, in terms of this heat rash, are you saying that we should not? So, this baby you have described is wearing three layers: singlet, one C, and sometimes they wear the diaper, they wear the one C, then they wear trousers or skirts, depending on whether they're a boy or girl. Before they wear the socks, and then we cover the head and we wrap them. So, in terms of this heat rash, are you saying that we sometimes overclothe or overdress our children?
Yes, we sometimes overclothe them so much, especially here. We are in the temperate zone. We have a lot of warmth here. So you don't need to dress in all those layers. Sometimes we know the child just need optimum temperature, just like everyone, to grow. You don't need to expose the child for the child to be cold, and you don't need to overdress the child. You just need the right temperature for the child. But to be able to, maneuver between that is also a bit tricky. So this is a clue. Once you see this on your child, that means you are overdressing the child. Then you have to take off some of the layers so that the child can have some air, and then everything will resolve.
Okay, we have some questions about this particular rash. Hajara is asking, with the intense itch that comes with the heat rashes, what do you suggest we use to resolve the itch? I wish Hajara had mentioned the age of the child, but maybe if it answer depends on age, then you can talk about the different ages.
So each can be addressed, but as I said, this is a benign condition. There are other conditions that may come with itch, severe itch. In fact, if you are not comfortable, like you have sweat and everything on you, you will itch. But if you are aerated well, you are likely not to itch as you have the sweat and everything on you. There are other topical ointments we can use, but we don't advise them because this is not a condition. This is nothing that is going to affect your child in any way. There are other things we can do that can help address the itch. So if you have a problem like that, you can still always visit the hospital. Let us have a look. Sometimes it may not be just the heat rash, as I'm saying. These are pictures I'm showing of a typical heat rash, but other conditions may also present in that way. So if you think that the child is not sleeping because of the itch, not feeding because of the itch, I will advise you visit the hospital. Let a trained eye look at that and then advise you. If it's just the heat rash, we will tell you what to do, and then you are sure that the child is going to feel comfortable with that. But if there is more to it, then we can address that earlier. I hope I've answered her question.
Excellent. But how about powder for the heat rash? That question is, how about powder for the heat rash?
Hello.
Hello, how about powder for heat rash?
I know we are almost always drawn to applying powder for heat rash. It's a bit dicey. As I have said, the most thing is we don't need to block the pores in this child. So if you are going to put on powder, that is also one other thing that sometimes people can put on just mildly, and then if the child is not sweating, then your powder is not likely to cause any blockage of the pores. But if this child is sweating and you are still putting on powder, it's just like you have some water and then you are adding something to cement it up. So the solution is let the child have air around the child. If the child is not sweating, then your powder is not going to block any pores. But if you have sweat on and then you are putting powder, then you are likely to cause more problems.
Okay, you keep saying pause. Ekia, that's your phone.
Okay, so
You keep saying pause,
yeah.
pause. Can you explain what you mean when you say pause on the skin?
Okay, so I promise not to use any jargons, but some of them I don't know the tree. I can't even say it in any other language, so I tend to use them. So pores are small openings on our skin that we sweat through.
Small
That's how
holes.
God has, yeah, small openings or small holes on our skin. That's when we sweat. In fact, when you sweat, sometimes you can see that they are on your skin like dot, dot, dot. So those are the pores. That is something that we sweat through on our skin.
Okay. And then, is there another disadvantage of using powder apart from the fact that it may not be needed? Is there another disadvantage? I'm thinking about children who may be allergic to dust or powder, and then parents are pouring powder on them. Can it harm them?
Okay, so powder is also made, that is talc, and then there are other additives to it depending on what you are using. Others have other fragrances to it. So there is a common condition that both children and then adults tend to have, known as eczema. So if your child is someone with, and then it's like more like a sensitive skin. So if this child has eczema and then you are also using your powder, your talc with your fragrances and additives, then that one is also a lot of problem for you, because in children with eczema, you try as much as possible to avoid anything that has fragrance, things that have colors, additives. They react to them as soon as you put them on your on their skin. So you try to avoid that. So if this child has background, even a family history of that, then you are rather predisposing this child to having a flare up of eczema. That's having the eczema come out, show.
Okay, excellent answer. I'm really enjoying, and I'm so glad that hopefully we have managed to sort this internet issue out. Please bring your questions because
Let's
um,
move on.
bring
Okay.
your questions because I don't want her to have it so easy after keeping us waiting for so long. So put your questions in the comments, and then we can really see
So
how experienced she is, so that she can answer the questions for you. Okay.
okay, so as the questions keep coming, I'll also go through some few things with you. So as I've already said, the infectious, non-infectious, and these are all some pictures of what is not infectious that we can have in a child. And then if we move on, please
But this
move on
is
to
really scary. It's not infectious, and my child has this on the skin. I would be very scared. I would want to do something
yes.
about it.
Yes, so it's not infectious. And then I don't know if most of us may know EPO. We term it as EPO. So this is EPO. In the English is urticaria. That's a reaction that you have either to allergy or to something. Sometimes it can be through food. It can be through something in the environment. Even sometimes some other leaves are prone to are noted to have to once they touch your skin, you develop these ones. I'm saying they are not infectious, yes, but then it can be dangerous because depending on what you have, there are other components to it, to this. You may have just a simple urticaria, and then you within some less than 24 hours, within a day, they will resolve. There are other people with other conditions that you may have this urticaria, but it may not just come with this. You may have other things to it, like having swelling of the face, and the swelling can go into your breathing area, you know, where you are breathing from. If you get swollen there, it can just close up and then you can't breathe. So the benign one, that is just probably from a contact, then you can just have an isolated urticaria, but there is more to it. You can have more than this, just having an urticaria rash. Okay.
So I have a child who, anytime
Can,
he plays in the grass, anytime he plays in the grass, he gets this a
okay.
pop skin. What should I do?
So that means there's probably that child is has an is allergic to that particular grass. So you try as much. We try once you are able to identify what your allergen is, then the advice is to draw away from it. You keep the child away from that because sometimes it's very difficult to even notice, be able to tell what the child is reacting to. But if you are lucky and then you know that this child every day goes to this field to play, and then when he comes back, I have this on my hand, then likely the child is reacting to that grass. So you keep them away from that as much as you can. I know sometimes it's difficult. You may not know even where the child is passing to school, whether you have some of these things there. But if it keeps happening frequently, and then as I have said, you have the swelling of the face, and then the child complains of maybe tightness in the chest, I'm not able to breathe well, then please visit any nearby health center or healthcare institution and let them assist you so that you can put down the proper measures to keep the child safe.
Okay. I have a question here. Let me answer it and then you move on.
Okay.
Equia Sewa Senya is asking your almost your namesake. Equia Senya is asking, how would you know if the rash is infectious? So you know, with rashes, you often need to have a picture in mind that helps you, and I believe that is why Dr. Senya has shown us some of the benign rashes, the rashes that she says will not do anything, the benign ones, especially the heat rash, and then the newborn rash that was like pimples on the baby's face, and then some on the forehead as well. That's one that is like pimples. So with that typical pattern, you will know that this rash is not infectious and you don't need to panic. And but anytime you are not convinced or you are not comfortable, or like somebody says that she thinks it's his rash, but the child is itching so much, you should let a doctor see, because often there may be something to it, you know. But the most important thing is that once you are told that this won't do anything, you don't go and apply stuff on it yourself, because that can rather harm the baby in terms of changing how the skin should be, the ability of the skin to fight infections and those sort of things. Okay. All right. So,
Let's move on, Richard. Thank you so much. You've answered well.
okay.
So
Paul is joining us. I think he's from LinkedIn, and he says that he's really enjoying what you are doing, and he's also happy that you waited through all your internet shenanigans. Roger
thank
is asking. Roger
Okay.
is asking, how do you know a rash is serious in children?
All
I
right.
don't know what serious means per se, but I think you mean, how do you know if the rash is dangerous in children? Like, can this rash cause a severe infection? Can this rash even kill my child? Touch wood. But that is why anytime you are not sure, you should take your child to the hospital. Okay.
Okay.
So
So
this is
I think
the rash.
that's question we
Yeah.
are also going to touch a little bit on it with the pictures here. So Roger, just keep um on. You hear something about your question as well. So I've
Okay.
shown some pictures here where it's showing some infective lesions as well. So this is also another rash you can find on the child, but this one is contagious. I've put that infective in a way as, I mean, the child can have it and then the child can pass it on to someone else. So both ways, that's what I've just captured as being infectious. Either the child having it as a result of either a bacterial, a viral, a fungal, or a parasite infection. And also if that infection the child is having can be passed on to someone else. That's what I've just termed as infective lesions. Okay, so this is one of them. I'm saying it's infective. That means this the child can pass it on to someone else, to another child, to the mom, to the dad, to anyone around. Okay, please move on to the next picture. So the next one here also is under the infective. You can see in the genital area and the just lower abdomen of this child, we have lesions here. So this is as a result of a bacterial infection. The one on my right also you can see. So this child on the right has a baseline skin condition. I spoke of eczema earlier on. Yes, and then because of eczema, their skin is porous in a way, and then it becomes more prone to other infections. So this is a superimposed infection on top of the eczema the child has. Please move on.
Okay. So if you see this rash, I think you need to take it to hospital by all means, because this
Yes,
rash must be treated. If not,
yes,
it spreads to other children, and we know bacterial infections with children, it can easily get into their bloodstream,
yes,
and then
and then
become very, very sick.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so the other rash here is also another, I mean, not harmful for the child, but then it's contagious. From its name, we call it molluscum contagiosum. That means it's contagious. It can be passed from one child to the other. It can be passed from the same person from one point to the other. But then it doesn't look, I mean, so bad like the first ones, but then it's still infectious. Please, the next one. Then
Please permit me to go to the previous slide. The baby on my left, the one with the genitals, has it got an account name? That's rash. Has it got an account name?
the Akan language sometimes is a bit tricky. I know the English, but I don't want to say it. And then the next one. So this is Bulos and Petigo, but as the Akan name, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Please
All right.
forgive me. We will have to look into that later and then
All
find it
right.
for this.
Okay.
Sure.
So this is the
Okay.
next slide.
So the next one, I've named it rash with associations. So looking at the one on my left, you see there are some two circular, or do I say round, lesions on the scalp. They don't look so frightening, but these are rashes that can have associations. Okay, so you don't say that this is what I'm, oh, this one is so frightening, so then it should be infectious or I should go to hospital. But this, a child with this rash, you need to visit the hospital. The other one on my right is also a rash with this child. It looks not too bad, but it has associations. It can have very terrible association, heart defects and all that. So you don't belittle. If you are not sure, it's always safe to go to the hospital for a trained eye to have a look at it and then advise you that, oh, this is not nothing for you to worry about. This is what you have to do. Then you can stay home safely, but you don't stay home with this, because the next time you send this child to the hospital, it may be late. Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
So
then.
when you say rash with association, can you explain to us what association means?
Okay, so as I said that some rash are infectious, others are not infectious. Some may have associations. That means they may form parts of a syndrome. We have something we call syndrome, that is different things coming together and then it has a name. So such rash sometimes may be part of a syndrome. The rash itself may be part of the syndrome, or it may be a precursor for something. We say the skin is window to the body. You understand? So there are some conditions that it may be autoimmune. That's the skin, the body's own system, immunity fighting against fighting against it, and then they will come out in the form of a rash earlier on, just as a precursor, just to alert you that, oh, something is going on. So if you don't pay attention to those rashes, then that means they are going to lead you somewhere. By the time you realize all other organs are involved, these are typical rashes that we find in people with newborns, with mothers who have SLE. Sometimes this picture, I remember it's of a child. Mom is not diagnosed yet, but then you find these lesions on the child, and this leads to further investigations in the mom, and then the mom was diagnosed to have SLE, which saves mom, both mom and child. You understand? So we don't look at the rash and then just be comfortable in your own that, oh, this one is just a small one. But then you look at it, and if you see it either persistent, some of them have shown you that you can have it in the newborn, but then they resolve on their own. But if you see rash, you are not comfortable, this is a small one, but it's persistent, it's increasing, then you kindly let someone who is trained to see, and then you can be advised further. Okay,
So I
can
think the
we?
message here is that if the rash is not going away, you need to seek treatment for it. Even if you think this rash is benign, it won't harm your child, but it's not going away. You should seek treatment for it. Please keep the questions coming so that we can dilute Equia's big English, big medicine.
Okay, so the next one is also similar to what we just previously saw. That's rashes that have associations. So these ones, they may have associations with the heart, with the brain. So you don't take it lightly, as I have said already. And then the next, can we move on to the next one?
Sure.
So some of them, this I'm showing some rashes here that I'm saying they are medications induced. So earlier on, as I said, I was trying to group, I mean, it depends on how you are looking at the rash. They can be grouped into so many ways: infectious, non-infectious. Some of them are um, congenital. That means you are born with it. Others, you acquire it whilst you are going about your daily lives, you acquire it. There are others which are also as a result of allergies, as we saw the urticaria, the one that we said a pour in tree. Yes, there are others which are just because the body is fighting against its own system, so they all will evolve in some type of rash. So when we say rash, it's just a big word umbrella for different things. And then the last pictures that I'm showing now, saying as a result of medication, just a reaction to some medication. So you can have this rash erupting on a child. Please, I hope we are clear on that.
Yes,
So
we are.
where do we draw the line? I think that was the question that Roger asked. So we
Yes.
always have to seek for advice with a rash. That's one. If it's associated with any fever, joint pains, any swelling, please seek medical advice. If it's spreading rapidly or increasing in number, in size, please seek advice. If it's even recurrent, it comes and then within 2 months or a month is gone, it comes back, it's within a week or 2 months is gone, seek advice. If it's not responding to initial treatment, sometimes some lesions evolve. We say evolve, that means it changes with time. Before you are able, it's not always simple to diagnose a skin condition, because most of them, they start from somewhere, and then as they change along the chain, that's when you are able to tell what they are. So even if you went to the hospital initially, you were given a diagnosis that this is probably what is happening, but it's still persistent, it's not responding to your treatment that was given. Don't say, I have always been to the hospital and that is all they always tell me, or they are not saying anything again, they are not, it's not helping, the medication is not helping. Go back and let them have a look, because sometimes the evolution will rather guide to the right diagnosis. Okay, so I hope Roger is answered in a way.
Yes, Roger is answered perfectly, but it was so fast. I mean, I heard everything. I don't know if Roger heard everything, but it was so fast. You
All
said,
right. So, okay.
would you like to talk again slowly about where you draw the
Okay.
line? Okay.
Okay. So I was saying that, so where then do we draw the line? All right. So where do I say that this one I have to visit the hospital, or this one it's okay, I have to stay? It's always a tricky thing, especially if you are not experienced in it, you are not trained for it. It's always tricky. So as much as possible, always try to visit the health institution for a trained eye or a doctor or a trained person to have a look at it for you. But then some of the things that may guide you as to this one, I quickly need to go to the hospital, is when there is a rash and it's associated with a fever. It's
Your baby
associated
is
with
hot
some,
or your
yes, your
child is
baby
hot.
has a rash, your baby has a rash, your child has a rash, and it's associated with a fever. The rash started having high temperatures. Visit the health institution. If you have joint pains along that, the child is telling you that now this is a child who was previously walking, can previously button up their shirts, can lift up things. Now they want you to carry them every time. They can't stand, they are not playing. Please visit the hospital for us to have a look. If it's coming with some swelling, you see this child has a rash, and then now the lip is swollen, the eye is swollen, don't stay home, come and let's have a look. If you have a rash that is rapidly spreading or increasing, either in size, in number, please come and let's have a look. If the rash has been recurrent, you have the rash on within 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it goes off, in a month's time you have the same rash coming again, please come and let's have a look. But sometimes even there are some rashes that some medications may be prone to, something that we normally take, paracetamol, brufen and all that, they can have association with some of these rash. So you have and it's like every time you take the medication you have the rash. But if you don't have a trained eye for that, you may never associate it with the medication. You always say that, oh, this rash, this child always has it, and then it goes off and it comes back. So just come and then let's have a look. Even if you went to the hospital, a rash, well, you went to the hospital, was seen and diagnosed to be something, treatment was given, but then it's not responding to the treatment, please don't stay home, come back, let's have a look. As I explained, sometimes they evolve, and then the evolution helps with making the right diagnosis in most of the skin rashes. You need the primary lesions, that's the first lesions that appear. You need them to help you guide, make the right diagnosis. And also you need the evolution of the lesion, that's how they are changing over time, also to guide you. So even if you were seen and then diagnosed, but then it's not responding to treatment, please come let's have a look at it. I hope I was much clearer this time.
Excellent. You were much slower.
Okay.
Now there's a question. Can we please touch on burns if there is time? What is the right thing to do? I think she wants to know if your child has a burn because children get lots of burns. What is the initial thing to do, the right thing to do for the child?
Okay. So that burns is also a different topic on its own. We may not be able to cover it here. And I don't want to give you to say that apply something. You know, the first aid, you try to take whatever is causing that harm away. If it's a hot water, something hot they stepped on, you try to do that. Sometimes you may have a burn superficially, like when you just look at it with your plain eye, it may look like, oh, it's just a burn on the surface. Some of them may go deeper. So you just always, it's good you let someone have a look at it, then they are able to tell, is this deeper than what I'm seeing? You understand? Sometimes you may say,
But
oh, just
before
put
you
on
let
a
the person
Vaseline.
look at it, is there anything
Yes.
you should do? Your child has been bent. Is hot water has poured on your child. Before you take your child to hospital, what should you do? Or is there anything at all you should do before you take the child to hospital?
Okay, so if hot water has poured on your child, you know, hot water burns always cause scalding. That means the skin, mostly the skin, do I say peels off in a way. So that
Yes.
one is always good. Don't decide to cut them yourself. Leave it on until you go to the hospital, and then proper care will be taken to take it off, because even in the way of taking it off, if you are it's not done properly, you can rather introduce infection onto it. So immediate thing you can do, cooling it down, we always say you can cool it down with some running water and
So
just cover it
immediately
up
you pour
nicely,
water on
not
it.
with something that will cause how do I say, will cause pressure on it, but just to cover it from the environment, from other things coming onto it, and then go to the hospital so that it can be attended to. I
Okay.
hope that is
All right.
okay.
That is okay. So first cool it with water.
Hello,
Pour running. Yes, we can hear you. So first
Sayram,
pour
can I
running
be
water
heard?
on it. Yes, we can hear you. Pour running water on it, and then you take your child to
Okay,
hospital. All right. Now I
okay.
have another question.
S-
So the question is past rash scars. So there are some children who tend to get a lot of rashes, and then it leaves scars on their skin. Is there anything they can do about it? The viewer ZZ wants you to talk about what to do about past rash scars.
Hello.
Equia, can you
Okay, I
hear?
can't hear you well, but no, I couldn't hear you, but I could read something here about finding out what to do about scars. Is that what you are asking?
Yes.
Post-rash scars. Okay.
Past.
So for that, there are different, yes. So different lesions and how they heal. Okay, some rash heal without leaving anything behind. Others heal and leave rather we call it hyperpigmented. That means a more darker mark behind. Others heal and leave a more we say hypopigmented. That means a lighter portion behind. And then others may heal with a scar. So depending on what rash you have, it's always known. Some rashes are known to heal in a certain way. There is nothing you can do about them. But some of them is just because of the way they are managed, then it may heal rather forming a scar. I mean, scars are difficult to handle, like with medications and all. The best will be plastic surgery to address scars, depending on what scar is you are having. But then most of lesions that heal with darker pigments, with time, most of them tend to fade away. Not all. Some of them may permanently leave their dark pigments behind, but there are others that with time it fades away. You don't really need to apply anything. It fades away with time. So that is just the peculiarities of different rashes.
So when you have had a rash and then, or your child has a rash and then it heals and the place becomes darker than the child's skin, you said that with time it may get lighter. But is there anything the parents can do to hasten the lightening if they know that that is not the child's complexion, or if it looks very ugly? Usually scars on the darkening on maybe the neck, the face where it shows, those ones people tend to worry about them. So if it's just darkening, is there anything the parents can do to hasten its fading away?
Yes, thank you. There are things that can be done, but then they all also have their side effects, especially if they are not done the proper way. Okay, so there are some lesions that may heal with very bad pigmentation. Let me call it that way. So it becomes like, as one child termed it, that she was being called different polka dots or something, like different colors. You understand? So such a child, it becomes even difficult for them to be in school, to associate with children, other children, and play. In such instances, something can be done, but it needs to be done under medical supervision.
But
Because you see,
I've heard parents say that you can mix egg with milk and put on it and then it lightens.
that one,
Is there any?
I'm not familiar with those techniques.
Okay, all right. Okay, so
Okay.
we have learned a lot. Our questions have slowed down. So if you have any questions, please bring them in, because I'm going to ask our guest right now to just give us some rounding up or last words if there are
Okay.
no questions coming in. But if you have questions, quickly put them in the comment section. Um, we have done, even though we didn't start on time, we have done about almost an hour now, and I'll ask her to round up for us. In the
Quickly.
meantime, I was saying that we have a parenting club. If you have a child, from the day you have delivered the child until the child is 2 years old, you can join our parenting club. It's free. We don't take any money for it. What we do is that every week we mail you to talk about your child. And what we say to you is different from what we say to another parent, unless the children are of the same age. So that's our parenting club. And you don't need to be afraid because you can see the face behind it. Me and other specialists come together to put those things together based on evidence. So you don't need to be afraid of any scam or anything. All we actually need is your email address because we email you and a name so that we can identify. So please join our parenting club if you have a child less than 2 years. If you are pregnant, if you are expecting a child, you can still join with your expected date of delivery. And once that date comes, we will start talking to you about your child. And if unfortunately the date changes so much, you can just email us back and say that we are wrong with the date, and then we quickly correct that one. So that's our parenting club that you can take advantage of. Very, very good and reliable information. All the parents that we have handled have given us great feedback. We don't charge any money for it, so please take advantage of it. All right, I don't see any questions coming in, and so Dr. Senya, can you give us some
Okay.
closing remarks about handling our children's rash?
Okay. So I think we've said a lot about the rashes already, but I want to put in these ones as my closing remark. What do you have to do? Especially, yes, you've seen the rash on the child. You want to go and seek advice. One important thing that we always have to take in mind, I said already that rashes do evolve. And then with the evolution, we are able to make the right diagnosis. With the primary lesion, we are able to make the right diagnosis. A rash may start today on the child, but you are not likely to have any time to visit the hospital today or tomorrow, or even in a week, depending on what lesions you are seeing. So we will kindly advise that now we all have cell phones, we all have phones. You take pictures Those are very important. If you are able to do that, then it helps us, it guides us to make the right diagnosis at the right time. So lesions, as they are evolving, today it may start as a pimple or just a red mark. Tomorrow it may form a blister. The next day it may be filled with pus. The other day it will just break out and then leak the pus out, right? But if we have this sequence of events, then we are likely to make the right diagnosis and say, oh, this is likely due to this. So we advise that anytime, if you are not able to visit, you see the rash, take pictures of it. Take serial pictures of it. If it's on yourself, let someone take clear pictures of it and keep it. If it's your child, take pictures of it. Today, how they are looking. Tomorrow, is there any change to it? Take pictures of it. And anytime you are able to visit the hospital, bring those pictures along. Show us which ones were the first things you saw, the first lesions you saw. The second day or third day, what happened? Just show us the sequence of pictures, and that will guide us in making the right diagnosis for your child. Also, we say that, I mean, the normal thing, if a fever is accompanying a rash, we always, as pediatricians, we advocate that when you have a fever of a certain degree, more than 38, you give your antipyretics before you seek any advice. So you don't say, oh, you are waiting to come, but those initial things always need to be
Yeah, what
done.
are antipyretics? You said we
Sorry,
should give our antipyretics.
paracetamol. Sorry, okay. Give something to bring down the temperature, then you can come to the hospital. Let me also close with this, that I briefly mentioned eczema, which is also one of the problems that we have here a lot. We have a lot of people, children suffering with it. Advice for that is, yes, they have delicate skin, they have sensitive skin, so we should avoid using soaps that are scented, soaps that are that scented fragrance, or soaps that are colored. Ideally, if you can get any soap that is not colored, no fragrance, that is best for their skin. They don't
So
need
I'm
frequent.
so happy you are mentioning this now. I totally forgot to talk about it or to prompt you to talk about it. I'm so happy you are mentioning eczema and you are mentioning the soap. There is something very common among Ghanaian mothers. Sometimes when you say it, they will tell you that they were advised by this health care worker or that health care worker. They like to bath all their babies with some red soap. I don't want to mention the brand. Some red soap, and then they now pour antiseptic into the baby's bath water. So they use that red medicated soap, and then they pour antiseptic into the baby's bath water to bath the baby. I don't know where this practice came from, but some of them will say they were advised in clinic, they were advised in this to do that. What do you think about that practice?
um I just spoke, I mean, children, the skin, though they are born with the skin, but it's still not mature, it's still delicate, it's still growing. So we don't need to add so many additives to it. Bathing with some soaps that are colored, I've just said here, that have more fragrance. If your child is prone to eczema, you are worsening the child's condition. There will be more flare up, more of the eczema coming up every time. Again, antiseptic wash, we recommend it, but not as a daily routine. Let me put it that way. Especially in a skin, interskin, without any infection, you don't need all that. There are chemicals, I'm just putting it plain, on the skin that are useful for the body. So us killing everything with all our antiseptic each day, we are just breaking the skin barrier, which is very harmful. So it's just like you have the skin, but it becomes naked, and that it traps everything that comes around. So we don't really need to be doing all those antiseptic wash every day. There are conditions that we advise you to do that, but even that, they are regulated. Maybe once in a week or twice in a week. Okay, so we don't need all those are very harsh things for our skin. So we don't need all that for our child every day. And especially, as we said, in an eczema child, you are just destroying the little barrier that the child has, and then after that
And
you will rather have.
sometimes we want our babies to smell so nice. So when we go to the market or the mother care, we buy the one that we smell it, and the one that has the strongest scent. That is the soap that we will buy to bath our babies. So,
If there
Dr.
is
Senya,
no atopy, there is no eczema in your family, you can use your fragrance soap, you don't have a problem. But where the child has atopy in the background, that one is also a different thing. I was just trying not to mention those ones, but then I have no other way to mention than that. You have that in the background, plus if there is eczema, then you are rather causing more harm to the child. So you don't need all that. And they don't even need so frequent baths, like you bath in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, because their skin barrier is already impaired. And then the little that they have, that the natural oils that the skin is producing, you don't also need to be washing them every hour and then. So even for those people, we advise they take very short baths, and then not so hot, warm, lukewarm water, short bath, and then after bathing, you just don't dry them. You dry till you feel there's no, you just pass them dry and you moisturize. So those are my closing remarks. That I mean, we don't need all that harsh ones on our babies. Their skins are
so
still delicate and still
Lucy
growing.
has asked a question, and I think if you don't answer Lucy's question, she won't be happy. She says that, what about moms applying powder at the nappy area? Hey, we didn't also talk about nappy rash. Oh.
Sure. I mean, we're still, we will find time next time and do all that. Yes, that is also a concern. It used to be a practice in the past, but now we discourage that. I have said some things here already about the barrier function impaired and you applying other things.
So we
Against,
should
apart
not
from all
apply
those things, there is
the
also
nappy area.
wanted to come again.
We should not apply powder to the nappy area.
It used to be a common practice, but now we discourage it as much as possible. We don't apply powder to the nappy area. I know most people, because of nappy dermatitis, so they tend to apply powder. But then it's also shown that powder, especially in the females, you apply and then they go into the creases and other things, just being a source of harboring infection also for the kids. So we don't advise that. If it's nappy dermatitis, that is a concern. All you need is just a barrier. Whatever is happening there is
A
probably
barrier.
is
What is
due
a
to,
barrier? What do you mean?
yes, I'm going to explain that further. So you just need, if I say barrier, as we know on the road, we keep something as a barrier, something to just be a protection from the child's skin and either the child passing urine or stool. So that is what I'm terming a barrier. And one common thing we know here is zinc oxide, which is also quite not expensive, we can afford. So it's a good barrier to use. If it's Vaseline you have, it's also a good barrier. All you need is just lather a generous amount of that on around the nappy area. So that is just going to protect the skin of the child from every urine that will be passed, every stool that will be passed, and then the child wouldn't get nappy dermatitis. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ikuya Yeboah-Senya, for joining us all the way from Kumasi. It has been very difficult to get you this afternoon because of internet challenges. We are sorry we did that to you, and we are also sorry to our viewers. But thank you for holding on. I almost postponed it, but thank you for keeping faith with us. We hope that you have learned a lot. I have personally learned a lot. But even after this, if you are watching us on replay and you have questions, please put them in the comment section and I will tag Dr. Senya to respond to the questions, or I'll respond to them myself if I have the answer, although I'm not an expert on skin. You can still share it if you are watching on replay. Even if you didn't start with us, you can tag people to come and watch. Thank you so much. And we hope to see you again next month. Next month, hopefully, God willing, we will do something about play on children. So if you are not following us on Facebook, please follow our page, Baby Child and Co, so that when we schedule a live event, you will hear about it. Thank you. Thank you so much, Equia, for joining, and everybody for joining. Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.